right, so what'd y'all think of the episode? I personally was a little disappointed.
I was more than disappointed. I was pissed.
Yeah.
It made me realize how much I really don't like Carl. Literally.
Well,
On top of that, to go with what you're saying, like I'm disappointed, but let's look at something here. It matches to the comic book more than any of the other episodes.
and that's
do.
why I'm
That's
so
true.
disappointed.
Agreed.
Now,
Agreed.
the issue they copy off in the comic book, such a powerful issue.
Mhm.
And this is almost word for word. I would have been happy had they just totally changed it, and I
Yep.
wouldn't have been disappointed. It's kind of like going to the Super Bowl, having your eyes closed, and listen to somebody tell you about it. It's so close to it being good, but it's just a
not
bad
that.
copy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, truthfully, I think it's a weird way to come back to the show. We had a break, and then to come back to this episode, I was just like, I didn't really care. Like,
I mean,
nothing
it-
really happened.
exactly.
It needed to be done. They
Yeah.
needed to cover what they did.
Right, that's true.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I don't know if they needed to do it just focused on those characters,
Right.
though.
Just
Like,
Michonne,
and-
Rick, and
just
Carl.
Michonne and Rick. I mean, like, it's good because, yes, it does focus more on the comic book, which does focus on those characters. But this next, like, the previews
But
that you see
here's
into the
the
next
thing.
episode
Yeah,
are going
that
to
makes
focus
you
on
wanna get
everyone
into it.
other than
Right.
Rick and Michonne.
Well, it's
and
going
Rick.
to focus on
Right.
each.
They
The next
should
few
have.
episodes are all going to be different groups.
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know, and
Yeah,
then
true.
after like 4 or 5 episodes, they'll all get together or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Michonne's freak out? I mean, that was
You know,
weird to me.
I really did like how they did that. Now,
I agree.
the Carl bit seemed a little weakened
Right.
because
Yeah.
now, and I hate to go back to comparing it to the comic book,
Right,
but there
yeah.
were 2 issues of nothing but Carl trying to pull his shit together.
Yeah.
And this was just like a half an episode, and they really had to touch on it, but they could have done that any other way because they had to touch it with Carl being able to survive without Rick if it came
Right.
down to it, and him
Right.
accepting that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much him saying goodbye to his childhood.
Right.
And they'll have to cover that in the TV show, but they did it so differently building up to that point than they did in the comics.
Yep.
That it just doesn't have the same meaning doing it the
Right.
same way they did in
Yeah.
the comics.
Right.
And that was a big mistake for them
Now-
to try and match that.
Now, something, and I'm only going to touch on a little bit of this because I had this thought as well, and Matt, you had brought this up earlier when we were all kind of talking beforehand. But the moment when he walks in and he sees the Xbox games, and he's really excited, and it shows him that he's really excited, and he still has that kid in him,
Right.
but it's quickly dismissed, and he takes the cord to use it to shut the door, to
Right.
tie the door off.
Right.
And it was that moment, and like right there, you see,
He's giving it up,
said his he said his goodbyes to his childhood. And you had, I'll let
Yeah.
you finish this off because
Yeah.
you had some.
Well, yeah, and to what Larry was saying, and what you're saying is, and again, I've faulted the show for this before. I think it rushes things because I guess they're trying to fit in so much. But I thought it was so quick that he sees those games, gets over the fact he's like, this world's not for video games anymore. Basically, uses the cord to do his thing, and then not 10 minutes later, he's eating pudding on a balcony as a kid again.
It
I
doesn't
was like,
make
man,
any
that's just
sense.
so weird. But I mean, that's just me.
Yeah.
You know, I will give them credit. That could have easily been a box of Twinkies or some product placement right there.
Oh, Zombie Land.
absolutely.
I
Zombieland.
give them
Nice.
give
Props for
them
that.
credit, for not going that route.
right.
True.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
But now sales for giant jars of pudding are going to
Oh, you already know. Kroger's gonna have that.
Grand
on shelf.
X
Right.
pudding.
Now I have a question on this, and I think maybe that y'all can help me out on this because I've read pretty much everything that's come out as far as the comic book goes. And again, we really don't want to compare, but Michonne tells us in earlier episodes of the show itself that the 2 guys that she had with her
Uh-huh.
were people
Yeah,
that she
meant
knew,
something
and
to her,
it
yeah.
kind of leads to for you to believe that one of them was her boyfriend and like one of them was like the possible friend as well, especially in this episode where they're at the dinner table and they have their arms gone.
Right.
Now though, compared from that to what she said in the show to what is shown in the comic books, do they ever actually
They
hit
don't
on
really
the fact that she
go
has a
on the-
baby?
No, they
Like, that's what I wanna know,
like
'cause I didn't
that
think
is
they did.
something new.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
now
didn't
in
know.
the
I didn't know.
show,
I wanted to make sure.
in the show, they imply that the one scene in the prison where she gets handed the baby and she goes, no, I don't want to hold the baby, and then she sees it, and
I
she
gotcha.
cries. I kind of got the
makes
vibe
sense,
that
yeah.
she lost a small child
Yep.
from that scene. And this, with that, and with what's it made total sense for her
Oh,
to
yeah,
have a kid, because
absolutely.
I always kind of suspected they were going to write that in there.
Sure.
Mhm.
Makes
You
more
know.
sense. I think another problem I have is, and I don't think it's just the show. I think it's anything in media today. Is they're trying to humanize characters that I don't understand why. They try to humanize the governor and make you think he's kind of a good
Yep.
guy. And even though
Didn't work.
Michonne, I didn't think it,
It
worked
did
at
not
all.
work.
But then you get
No, it's
Michonne,
terrible.
who
It
not
was.
only
It's
loses
terrible.
2 loved ones, now has a kid that she lost. I just don't.
It's
I'm like, we
dumb.
get it. Everyone has a past, but I mean, she's there just to cut people up with a sword. What else do I
Exactly.
need to know?
That's
Well,
true.
here's the thing though. Like in my opinion, and and again, like I do apologize because I'm really not trying to draw comparisons, but
It's okay.
with her being that and showing you that humanity that she has and how far gone she is to like her
Right.
freakouts and how badass she is as an individual, because she literally is tailor made for this society.
Oh yeah.
Like this kind of future. Like
Yeah,
this
this
is
is her
what this is
world.
her world.
This
right?
is what she can control.
So because of that, I think it would be more poignant if they showed, because again in the comics they show Rick going down that same path, but I don't really see him going down that same path in the show itself. Not that they have to. It's
they
just
touched
they
on
don't.
it, but they made it earlier.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they kind of left that away in the wash. And
Right,
it's
I mean-
maybe not even him, maybe even the Daryl character, because he's kind of struggled with the fact that maybe he's tailor made for this world, but now they're making him more humanized.
right.
They need to stick with that.
definitely
A
really
character
they,
that
they
goes in that.
softened it.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, legitimate dad coming back eating people. There's going to be some other that go crazy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Everyone's
you
gonna
know,
make it.
that's true.
Absolutely.
Now, let's
Governor,
not
point
forget that even in the TV show, she was walking around with her brother and her boyfriend that she cut off the arms and jaws
Yeah.
of and carried them to talk with them. And
right.
I
To
mean,
hang with them and
you
to
know,
kind of
keep
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 the
a piece of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the smell of the walkers to kind
Yep.
of keep the
I mean,
other
yeah,
walkers
she
off
used
of
them.
her.
Well, part of her,
'Cause that's kinda
her
what
was
I got.
using them as defense,
Right.
just
Yeah,
being
as a wall.
natural,
Yeah.
because the whole smell thing drove them away.
Right.
But she also used them because she would communicate with them. She would
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
to them,
Yeah.
and you know, and that's in the comic books they go a big deal about her admitting she's crazy.
Mhm.
You know, and there's even whole scenes where she talks to herself.
Oh yeah.
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 You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
and they don't do. There's not that extreme crazy in the show. In fact, someone needs to be crazier. I mean, fuck.
Oh,
Yeah, just
absolutely.
go-
The
let
Morgan
loose.
guy, from the first episode, I really wish they would have brought him
Oh,
back.
agreed.
Yeah.
So agreed.
Because
He was that kind of crazy, though.
Yeah, he was that kind of
When they
crazy.
reach back to him, he is that kind of crazy.
He is like,
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
right.
they need some of that to make you believe. Okay, not everybody is perfectly adjusted.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
They need that to show that extreme.
Absolutely.
Just
Exactly.
talking to
Yeah,
into a
uh,
phone doesn't really, it shows me you're
Right.
losing it, but
I mean, and that was another thing that they stole from the comics and really disappointed.
just
Oh, yeah,
it fell
absolutely.
low.
You know, in the comic books, the whole phone thing lasted a series of months.
Yeah.
Like, Rick has the phone with him to this day. I mean, he's that crazy. Like, anytime he just picks up the phone and talks to Lori. That's his thing. It's like a security blanket now.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
on the going back to the zombies, that was actually another question that I had, and I'll shoot this to you, B man. Like, when you cut off a zombie's arms and lower jaw, does it just lose the need to feed? Because they don't fall on her, they don't try to attack her. They're just like, all right, let's go.
I think they just.
they don't do anything.
I think they just
They
give
do,
up. They don't have to. I mean,
touch on them becoming more docile once they
it
realize.
seems so
like,
quick because
they
I can
have no
the
understand.
lower
governor pulled
jaw.
out all the teeth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they realized they'd become more docile.
Okay.
That's
Because
true.
I can see the brother
Get
and the
neutered,
boyfriend.
basically.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
Right.
neutered,
Because I can see the brother and the boyfriend, because she's had them for a while, but she
Yeah.
gets these two new ones and just cuts them up real quick, and they're just like, they don't even try to fall on her
Oh,
or
yeah.
nothing. They just kind of go with
Yeah.
the flow, and I was like, oh, this is-
Well,
she completely cuts their arm off all the way up to the
Yeah.
shoulder, so they really know they
I want to
don't
know
have
how
any way
you
to-
gently slash somebody's chin off without taking their whole fucking
Exactly.
chin off.
I wanted
Exactly.
to see that.
Right, I was kind
they
of
left that
disappointed.
out.
She I expected her to just go,
Or, like,
shove
put it
the
in.
sword in the mouth and
Yes.
do something like that.
Yeah, or
you
that would be
know?
awesome.
slice it or something like that.
Another big thing we brought up, and I mean, I know you want to talk about this, Carl, man.
God,
what is going
I
on?
hated Carl in this episode. I like in the what was it, the last episode or the episode where it's him and Rick basically mowing down all them zombies. They
Right.
made me think, oh, Carl is pretty good. He's a good character. Okay, but then this episode comes in. He's supposed to act like he's the badass of this particular episode, but then later on, he's whining like a little bitch.
And that's the other thing too. Now they copy a scene out of the comics where it's Carl becoming a man, but in the show they've already covered that.
yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
He's
there's
yeah.
no
I
need-
mean,
there's
there was no
for it.
need to go back
Yeah.
for it.
Exactly.
You're
And
right.
you said it off camera when we were talking about earlier. It's hard to see a character who actually ages.
Right now,
He looks
and the
grown
comic
up.
book it's powerful because he's 9,
Yeah,
you
he's-
know, or
yeah.
8. It's
Yeah.
super young,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a
Basically
really
Hit
powerful.
Girl
But
for
I mean,
Walking Dead.
realistically, the actor's growing up, even though he's
Right.
only supposed to be like 11 or 12. He's probably about 16 by now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, and even also in the comic books themselves, you really see him pretty much from the very beginning of the comic books up until the point of him thinking that Rick is dead after the prison. He has a lot of moments where he cries and you're like, oh, he's a kid. And it isn't until the moment when Rick is passed out in the house that he really is like, no, I'm grown up. I take care of myself.
Exactly.
And they touched on that way earlier on in the show, which makes you not care about the moment that they're showing you now.
Right.
You know,
They
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
touch on it earlier. They
Yeah.
don't have that time because 10 years later, they go back in real time. In the comics, they go back and say, "Hey, it's safe here. You could be a kid again."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's like, "I don't know how to play with these kids.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
When
You
they
know,
get to
I know
grow
how
up.
to hunt and kill
They get-
walkers.
yeah.
I don't know
Exactly.
how to play kickball."
Yeah.
yeah.
you know,
there
I
you
mean,
go.
It's true.
And they can't do that kind of stuff in the TV show because of real
Right.
life aging.
Sure.
Right.
So we're not going to have that moments. I thought there were going to be a little bit of him trying to hook up with one of the other kids or something,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that would've
Remember we
made a
talked
lot of
Like
sense.
Yeah.
like Carol's girl, like the
Yeah.
main girl. I thought that was going to be the love
Sophie?
interest. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sophie.
Or Sophia?
Well, I mean, because that's kind of he has that in the books. Again, we're not trying to say that it needs to follow the books,
They're just better.
but it's not the fact that they're even better because the
You're right.
show's going its own different direction.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Right,
it's still
but-
you have these characters
You
that
have
you
elements.
introduce into the show, and the elements
him.
of these characters need to complement other characters
Right.
in the show.
Well, with Carl aging in this world,
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but when I was 13, 14, if I was in the zombie apocalypse, I would have definitely used the line, "You don't want to die a virgin, do you?"
yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah,
'Cause-
I
you
would
know-
have used that on everybody.
Because
Yeah.
you never
You
know.
know,
You never know in,
oh, yeah.
in the zombie
Right,
world.
I
So
mean-
you might as well get it while it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have, ended up trying to hook up with somebody.
Yeah.
And-
Exactly.
Especially
really,
when the entire
especially
group
soon
was
as that-
away during all of them being sick, and he was the only one left alone with the kids.
Yeah.
He could have got it.
You know,
could've
I mean,
gotten it.
killing
He
zombies
could've
is
tapped
bad
some
enough.
point,
Don't need
he's
sex.
going to
Could've
have
tapped
to become a teenager.
Yeah.
They're going to
Right.
have to advance that
Right.
character.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just going to come up.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so do you think the show's going to be a coming of age? Like, we
You
got to
know-
get Carl laid.
That's
that what's
funny. That's funny.
Got to get him laid.
I
in the
don't
zombie
think it's going to
apocalypse.
go that way.
I would change
Uh,
my.
They'll have a Wonder Years moment.
Oh, what are you montage?
That's funny. That's funny.
You hear
That's
his
funny.
older voice in the background say, "That was the days of the zombie apocalypse. I remember Winnie before she got eaten.
Yeah.
Those
Oh.
were the good old days.
Let me tell you
The
about
days.
your mother.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
God.
And that's how I shot your mother.
Now, I was just gonna bring up. Sorry, I was gonna
No,
bring
you're
up real
good.
quick on Carl again, because I told Kyle I don't think they're gonna explain it, but because they make such quick light of Rick not waking up on the couch. Do you
Yeah.
think they're gonna explain that he's fighting off an infection, or is it just gonna him be like, oh, I'm better?
I
Well,
thought
see,
he had
now,
like a
here's
bruised
the other
rib
thing.
or something.
Yeah, I mean, now in the comic book, he's got shot and it's infected.
Yeah,
Here, he's just got the crap beat out
Oh
of
yeah,
him.
Yeah.
exactly.
You know,
That's
so,
it.
I mean,
but still, if someone's
realistically,
like yelling
he's
at
out of
he
you,
is not. I mean, he seems sicker than he should
Oh,
be.
yeah.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
So I mean, I think he may have the flu or something or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought his lungs were like bruised or something like that.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
showing
when
that.
He
I think
raised
they'll-
his whole shirt
They'll
up. it
show
was
on
like,
him being sick or something, or
Sure.
needing to get bandaged or
Yeah,
whatever.
okay.
I'm sure they'll
Just give him a
explain it
Band-Aid.
away.
That's all he needs.
But yeah,
A Flintstones Band-Aid.
he
him a couple of
really
tablets.
seemed pretty just
Yeah.
way overdone.
Right.
For as fast as he left the prison.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
Even though
I
he's
mean-
yelling at Carl to slow down, he's still going pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
he
pretty
makes
quick.
Now, hold on a second, though. Let's think about that for a second, okay? He leaves the prison. How many miles did
Right.
they walk to get to that neighborhood that still has provisions in it when the governor and them in previous
been
episodes
around.
have been
Yeah,
around
yeah,
that
that-
site?
that's true,
He
too.
walked that far and his body didn't give out.
Yeah,
You know what I
he's-
mean? Like
he ain't hurt that
but
bad.
The
You're
only reason
right.
I say
You're
that,
right.
the only
He'll
reason
live.
I say that is because the show. I love the show. Let's not get that wrong. I really do. I love the
I
show.
mean, I do too.
But it's the inconsistencies that drive
Right.
me absolutely bananas. At the opening of this episode, one of the things that I saw, and this is very little, but it blows my mind away that it's something so little, but it's overlooked. There's a horse lying dead in the middle of a field, and there are no zombies eating it.
Yeah,
In the first episode, when he comes up on the tank, they grab that horse, and that horse is done for.
That's true.
That horse is
That's
dog
true.
meat, bro.
That's true.
pretty much.
Seriously.
But if you notice, the guts of that horse
Looks
are
pretty-
missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's
here was
pretty
the thing.
rotten, but
that was
quickly.
the horse was the only meat source around. Now the prison, there's tons of bodies. Zombies
True.
have short attention spans.
That's
Fair
true.
enough.
They've
That's
shown
true.
that. Yeah, so that's what happened. Oh, there's live meat. Now I'll go after that.
Fair enough.
Speaking of the beginning,
Which
I
is
want to.
funny because they have a hierarchy for their food process. Oh, that's still kicking. We like that.
Let's change
this
this.
day old
Let's-
shit. Nah, we're getting that live
Let's
stuff.
do a V
I want
formation
the-
and get around this bad
I
boy.
want the white meat with a side of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, right.
No, at the
politest
speaking of
zombie
the
ever.
beginning.
I'll take that, baby.
Take that, baby, please. No, speaking at the beginning of the episode, what did you guys think about them showing? So they show Herschel and he's turned. They show his head. What do you guys think about them showing the governor, but the governor hasn't turned, and then obviously Michonne doesn't find him and cut off the head.
Michonne
So what are they
shot.
doing with him?
Shot him in the head at the end of last season.
No, it was
Or
his.
somebody-
It was the
well,
girl.
yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
girl
yeah,
shot
crazy
him.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
So his brain was blown out.
True.
Herschel just had his head cut off.
They don't show you where she shoots him. Do they?
No, there's like a hole somewhere
Well, I
on
mean,
his forehead.
when they show his head, you see a bullet hole.
It's not even about that because this is why. Because we talked about this on one of the last episodes. Was when she brought him the little girl.
Right.
He took the little girl in the placement of where the gun was
Uh-huh.
and him shooting it. You never see him actually shoot her in the head either.
Okay.
But the placement of it suggests
She
she
did the
got
same.
a headshot.
Okay.
And they do the same exact shot when she comes up onto the governor. So yeah, he's
Okay.
totally
Yeah.
out of it.
Well, I
Headshot
thought it was weird.
Double
Like, why
tap.
even show him again? It's just like, hey, did you guys forget about him? He's dead on the field now.
Possibly, yeah.
They
I
wanted
just
to
thought
make
this
sure
thing-
so that way he wouldn't
Yeah,
have
no,
a reason
they,
to come
they
back at all.
didn't want any doubt.
Okay.
Say you didn't
Yeah.
go. Oh well, they didn't want somebody to go. Oh well, the governor's still running around there somewhere.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that MFR is
he's
No
dead.
zombie governor.
Yeah, yeah.
We're done with that.
True.
But yeah.
Done with him.
So I mean, overall, what do you give the episode?
Very, very weak
Yeah.
start.
It was a weak start.
This is probably my least favorite episode of this season.
Really?
Just
Yeah.
starting
More
off.
so than the mud pit zombies?
You know, I mean, I know y'all all didn't like any of the others. You know, there's all like various slow scenes. This by far,
That's
I thought
true. I mean,
this was the slowest, most disappointing episode
yeah,
they've
yeah.
done so
I
far.
will agree with
Absolutely.
I was disappointed. I wish Michonne would have had the shoe,
Yeah.
had Carl's shoe.
Oh, so agreed.
I actually wish it wouldn't have been the same pairing as it was in the comic books. I wish they would have just changed it up there.
You mean like the characters meeting up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do like the way they showed Michonne flashing back and seeing herself as a zombie. But I wish she would have met up with somebody other than that. If she hadn't met up, like if they did the same episodes, only when she knocked in the door, there was somebody else that answered it, would have been, oh, she met up with those people. I wouldn't have been nearly as pissed. But the fact that I saw her look at the boot prints and then shook her, I'm like, okay, this episode's going to end with those two getting together.
Yeah.
It was incredibly predictable, incredibly boring. Honestly, I don't see why you need to watch this episode.
You
And
don't.
that
agree.
you don't.
is the worst I've ever said about an episode.
Yep.
That being said, I still watched it.
Right.
And I would still say you could watch it once, but if you're going back and rewatching them, I'm willing to
Skip
bet
over.
this is one
Skip
you
this
can
one.
skip.
What do you?
I
out
didn't
of
see
10?
anything you need to know.
No.
No.
Out of a
no.
10, 1 to 10,
Yeah.
I honestly give this one. This is the new one.
This the new one.
Ooh.
Wow.
This is the new low point in the season for
Considering
me.
it's the first
Wow.
episode.
It's the
number
lowest
one.
that you've ever scored that. Ever.
I mean,
I've
this
never
is to
heard
me
him
is
say
the
one.
I am the most disappointed with this episode.
Wow.
I think the
of any
lowest.
of
I
them.
think the lowest you ever gave an episode was like a 4.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was.
I
It
was.
was.
I
What?
truthfully, I honestly,
mean-
I would give it like a
Yeah.
2 as well, because to go off on a break and then come back to this episode as you're like, this is the
So
return.
yeah, exactly.
bland.
Bland and
Oh,
boring. It
exactly.
was boring, man.
It was
and
boring.
Exactly.
and what he was touching on as well, I understand that they've shown Michonne and Carl kind of have a thing here and there where they're just like, you know, hey, this is how you do this, or like, you know, come with friends. But I thought it was also strange when she knocks on the door and Rick's just like, it's for you. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's little things like that that I don't understand what they're doing. but-
I did kind of like that line, but it was definitely out of place. I like that it was kind of funny him trying to be father son,
Yeah,
but
right.
it felt totally out of the thing.
Right.
You remember when
Yeah.
I almost died on the couch? Joke time.
Right.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
weird. But I mean, I give it a 2, man. It's you don't go on a break and then come back to an episode like that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you
absolutely.
come back guns blazing, but I say that you at least give us more.
There
If
was-
they would have went to like the bus, the people on the bus, probably a little bit more interesting than
There
just
was
Rick and
nothing.
Carl.
I mean, this episode would have been much more interesting if it was just Carl. If they went back to it's just Carl walking around the house trying to fight zombies by himself.
And you don't know where Rick is until
Right.
until you see him on the
Or
couch.
I mean, even if Carl was dragging Rick on a stretcher for an hour,
That would've been
show me that. Carl dragging Rick on a stretcher
been
made
good.
out of some
I actually
sticks
would
for an
have
hour.
enjoyed the episode
And
a
then
lot
be like,
more.
and then just Carl cussing Rick the whole time. Just give me that. Him
and-
walking through the woods,
him and his pudding.
right? And then,
Him and his
then
pudding in
have
one
Michonne follow that trail makes sense. Then she
Then choose when there's
instead
tons
she
of people
notices,
walking around.
You know, through a zombie horde that there's one pair of fucking boots.
Yeah.
And how distinctive are those fucking boots that she could? Those are Rick's boots. Those aren't general issue combat boots. No, those are Kentucky combat. I'm sorry, Georgia
Kentucky.
State Trooper boots. Note by the GST in the right heel. What the fuck?
I can understand her
Now,
being good at
get
killing
it, Scooby.
zombies, but when did she become the tracker? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, if Daryl had tracked that, I'd believe
Been
it.
all right with it.
Yeah, that's true.
B-Man, what do you give the episode, man?
I'm
What
gonna
do you
give it a 2.5.
2.5.
Just a 2.5.
You're gonna half
Michonne,
me up.
I like looking at her. That's pretty much
Yeah.
the one reason.
Her dress
Every
is-
time
Right. She was the saving
She
graces
was
of this episode.
she saved the episode because every time she just walked away, I just kept looking.
Her in that
That's
dress.
all-
dress
that's
by
all I
Samurai
did.
Sword.
Funny.
Yeah.
And
Of
the
course.
one thing, don't do another Carl episode.
Yeah,
please don't even give him a moment because this pretty much proves that he is not fully ready. Even though he looks
Well-
ready, And also that the fact that he looks like he's not 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
This whole
16.
episode could have been 2 5-minute scenes
Oh, yeah.
in
Exactly.
other episodes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And on top of that, they could have like broke it up and showed us the other group in between there just to get us ready for the next episode.
Rate it up. These guys like it a lot better than I do, apparently, because I give it a 1 as a die-hard Walking Dead fan. As someone who's been with the comic book since
show.
issue 19 and a die-hard fan of the show, lowest rating episode. What?
I've been with issue 1.
I've
been from the beginning.
OG.
Do you have issue 1?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Oh.
I have the trade. I have the trade back.
No.
I don't have
I
the
bought them
actual-
off the shelf.
Oh, damn it!
I have the floppy. I have the monthly. I have the retirement edition.
That's awesome.
Ready.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Lawrence was
Right now, my retirement is based in Magic cards and Walking Dead cards. I ain't even kidding. They've done better than my stock portfolio. Not even
I
kidding.
don't think
Wow.
that's a joke either. Actually,
It's really not.
I so think
That's
that's
not a
hilarious.
joke.
All right. So I gave it a 1 out of 10. We had a 2 out of
Two,
10, 2
two
out
and
of
a
10, 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know,
Hopefully we'll see
Michonne
more.
did good, but
Yeah.
Michonne, if it
We
was
should've
just
seen more.
if it was just Michonne, I would have gave this episode like a 5 or a 6.
Definitely.
But I mean, if it was a 5-minute episode of just that shit of Michonne, yeah, it would have been better.
No, but we
than-
got Carl and Pudding.
and
That's all we
yeah,
got.
the pudding was totally out of place. You know,
Oh,
yeah, there was just so much wrong with the way they handled that.
Definitely.
It's all been covered before with Carl.
Definitely.
We saw a whole 4 episodes of him bitching about not being treated like an adult.
Yeah.
He
Right.
gets the opportunity and he acts like a little bitch.
Yeah.
now
So-
one thing I want to say really quickly is we all disagree. We all agree. I'm sorry. We all agree that we do not like this episode.
Ooh.
But I want to say that overall, really, the episode, the content of it is not so bad if the lead up to that point
wasn't
wasn't
so epic.
terrible. Well, I mean, it's not even so epic. It's just you had so many weak episodes right before they have the fight at the prison, and then the
And
prison
let's-
really is the high point,
It's-
and it
yeah,
drops.
And let's
so
be honest, my
low.
scale of 1 to 10 is only on a comparison of Walking Dead episodes.
Yeah.
If I were to do it in TV in general, it would still be a 5.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it'd
You're talking
still
about just
be.
this season?
No, I mean, just all TV in general, I'd still consider this better than average.
Oh yeah.
You know, this one than the average
Still better
crap.
than 2.5 Men. Big Bang Theory.
I like Big
Got
Bang
him.
Theory.
Oh,
I'm looking at
come
you,
on.
Laverne and Shirley.
You know, I mean, it's not like season 4 Heroes bad
Oh,
or
no.
season
Oh,
21 How
With
I
the
Met Your
carnival?
Mother or whatever. You
the
know,
carnival.
I don't know.
The
I could not
carnival?
even watch the rest of
Oh, it's
that.
terrible.
bad.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts, man. I can't wait to see what goes on in the next episode in the teasers that we see. We're gonna get to see what's going on with Daryl. We're gonna get to see what's going on with Tyrese and what happens with the bus. And I was honestly more excited about the previews of what's coming than I was the episode itself.
Fair enough.
Carl, get in the back seat. You no longer have my right to sit in the front. Get in the back seat.
No
We-
shotgun for you.
No shotgun. No shotgun for Carl. I'm just hoping to see a lot more. Hopefully, I want to see what Glenn and them, what Glenn's gonna do, because I kind of have this feeling he I don't know if he's gonna make it. I don't know. He might be the guy to get bit. I don't know, but we'll just have to see.
I'm glad you touched on that. I want to see more Glenn. I've always wanted to see more Glenn. When he was sick, I was like, please, man, he's one of my favorite characters. I want to see him and Maggie. I do want to see, honestly, as much as everyone loves Daryl, him and the blonde, I could kind of be the last thing I see. I really don't care. I want to see what happens to the bus. I want to see more
Because they're
Glenn.
gonna make it. It doesn't matter.
You know, we know Daryl's not going anywhere.
Right.
Michonne's
Yeah.
not going
Everybody loves
anywhere.
Right.
It's on the front of magazines.
Rick's not going
You know,
anywhere.
I mean, I would have liked to seen Rick shot. Would have been a much more interesting episode to me.
Or lose a hand.
For real.
No, they're not going to do that.
Ah.
He's not going to lose a hand.
Ooh, we'll put money on it.
All I'm going to say,
Is it a clue?
I'll leave you with some parting words. parting words of Che Guevara, the Mexican revolutionary. Go ahead and shoot, you coward. Those were his final words.
Yeah.
Nice.